So welcome. Today's going to be a very interesting program. And what I'm going to be doing in the next few programs is actually everything that we need to take to work and do in our business relationship, also we incorporate into our personal relationship. You know, depending on what kind of influencers that we've had in our lives, we may see a very favorable outcome that our life has had because we've had people that would motivate us and cheer us on and really help us to go forward and achieve our dreams. Some, though, may have had very unfavorable experiences in their lives, and that causes us lots of times to make choices that maybe keep our lives in an unfavorable position in everyday life. So a good home with lots of love is one, but then there's also the other side where it's could be a very negative outcome in the home, and that does affect us. It causes us to make certain choices, and the thoughts in our minds lots of times keep us down. And when that happens, it affects our conversations, it affects all of our thoughts, and it affects how we get along and how far we succeed in life. And so I wanted to talk to you about that today. You know, what kind of experiences that we have inherited. And again, as I've mentioned before, I always remember the young lady who lived in a shelter with her mom all her junior high and high school years, and yet got was able to go to Harvard on a scholarship. And there's so many people like that, though, that were able to get out of that, and we all can. And one of the biggest steps is what we call auto-suggestion, because so many times when negative thoughts come into our minds, we dwell on them because that's what we know. That's what's familiar to us. That's what maybe we've experienced all of our lives, whether it's work, home, friends, associates, whatever the case may be. And so with auto-suggestion, it becomes a habit for you to immediately switch. If you think, I'm a failure, no, I'm a success. I'm intelligent, I'm capable, I'm motivated, I'm a high quality person, and I'm going to rise to my destiny. And when someone says something to you or you have memories from your past, you have to immediately, and it takes a lot of work, turn that thought around and say just the opposite. Oh, I'm poor and broke and I'm always going to be that way. No, I'm a capable, intelligent person. And as I work towards this and change my habits, whatever they may be, I take some classes and hold my chin up, I'm going to go forward and I'm going to pursue my dreams and I'm going to make that goal. And so that's what so many people have done, and I've shared these in past programs. Famous failures, as they're called, all these sports people and people that are very well known in the world turn their life around no matter how badly they were rejected with auto-suggestion. No, I'm not going to let that get me down. Not this time, we're done here. I don't think that way anymore. I'm thinking forward. I'm thinking positive because I'm a child of God, and you can't get any more valuable than that. So I fought with it all my life, and I know some of you that are listening have also fought with that, but you go forward. Not this time. I'm not listening to those thoughts anymore. I'm going forward. You know, a lot of times we need to think of our mind as a computer because it basically is a computer. And a lot of times, because of the experiences that we've had, things that people have said, we program, just like a computer, those things, those negative words, those comments, those thoughts are programmed into our mind. And they're very hard to get rid of, although with auto-suggestion, all you really need to do is hit the delete button. You know, when we see things where we make a mistake as we're typing something out on the computer, oops, I don't want to say that, we hit the delete button. If something offends us sometimes, we just go, no, I don't want to pay any attention to that. We hit the delete button. So that's the same thing that we need to do. Think of your mind with a delete button that can change those things, because the wrong software will continue to program us more and more to not really succeed. Oh, I'm never going to go anywhere, so I'm not even going to try. Nope, delete, not going to do that. Because just like you can have a hardware crash on your computer, a lot of times our mind gets so overloaded with negativity and fear and guilt and all these things that we have a hardware crash, basically, and it causes us to kind of shut down. So even like a computer that gets a virus, and there's a lot going on with viruses right now, we don't want to allow our mind to continue to hold on to those viruses. We want to get rid of them and let them go. And the self-defeating trash, out, not this time. So we don't want to think about that. Keep thinking of the word auto-suggestion and immediately change those thoughts around. We want a life that's calmer and more productive. And so the vision in your mind is something that's a choice that you have to make. And it's hard a lot of times to go beyond what's so familiar to us all this time, but you can do it. And it's so rewarding when you see accomplishments, you feel good about something that you did in spite of the hard times that maybe you faced. And so visualizing is very, very important. And they always say it takes at least 21 days to form a new habit. So I'm going to ask you to think of that word auto-suggestion. And when those things come up, those thoughts come up, immediately switch them around. This first few days especially, it's going to be a kind of an ongoing thing to keep doing that. But honestly, it will become a habit if you do it and you keep doing it, where it's like, wow, I don't even think that way anymore. Yay, and you move forward. So that's really good. So I want to talk to you today about listening, about speaking, but mostly listening skills, and then how everything that we hear and we say will greatly, greatly impact every part of our lives. So there's the top 10 skills about being an excellent listener, and I'm just going to cover some of those a little bit. One of the biggest secrets of being successful is our skill of listening. Sometimes people are introverted, a lot of people are, and they're maybe a little bit shy, but some of the best conversationalists are actually the ones who are the best listeners. People love to talk to them because they know they're engaged, they're listening, they care. And so if you don't feel like you have a lot to say, be a good listener, be a great sensitive listener, and people will come to you, they'll want to be around you because they love the positive feelings that they get knowing that you really care for them. So don't let shyness keep you away from getting out there, networking, joining organizations, and being active in the community. One is detect whether the person is talking to you and expressing feelings or facts. Feelings are more subjective. And so when somebody talks to you about things that you can tell, if you really listen, this is all about what they feel inside or their opinions. There's a lot of opinions going on too, but what are their opinions? What are they feeling inside? Versus objective, which are facts, the basic facts. This is the way it is, that's what happened, that's the date, this is what happened, that's objective. But we also need to be subjective as far as listening to what's underneath, what's coming out of their mouths when they're talking. So always think of that. Respond fully to the feelings that someone shares. A lot of times we can just be so bent on, oh yeah, I need to tell them this, or I believe they should know this or learn this. And so we're not really listening because we're already preparing what we want to say next. So always be aware of that. And maybe a child comes to you and says, oh, I'm scared. There's monsters under the bed. There's monsters under the bed. I'm so afraid. Well, subjective, that's like this child is afraid. They're scared. And so if you just say, oh, there's no monsters under the bed, go back to bed. Okay, that's objective. But the child feels like what they're saying has no merit, that they're unimportant, and it hurts their feelings, and they may start to shut down a little bit. So always remember that whether it's a child or whether it's an employee, whoever it is, listen to the feelings and acknowledge the feelings. Even if they seem silly, to them, it's real. And our perceptions are our reality. Whatever we perceive to be true in our minds is real. And so you always want to acknowledge that and then work with them around it to maybe the correct feeling, the correct answer. Another one is using silence when talking to a person who is sharing their feelings. You don't want to just interrupt right away and say something, but maybe be still, let them see if they have something else to say, and gather your thoughts in order to answer back to them. But you don't always want to immediately just jump in there. Give them some time to continue thinking about what they're saying. Now, this happens at work. It happens with employees or teams, as well as at home or with other groups of people. Make encouraging sounds to acknowledge that you're listening. Okay, I get it, yes. And make comments that show that you care and that you're also actually listening to what they're saying. A lot of times we want to paraphrase back what they said. They said, I'm hurting. Oh, you're hurting. What happened? So you're paraphrasing back what you heard so they know you're actually listening and not looking at the phone, thinking about what's for dinner tonight or something else, but you're actually listening. And very important in work and at home. Another one is focusing on what someone is saying, like I said, instead of thinking about what you want to say next. You know, a tennis coach says, keep your eye on the ball. Well, in this case, it's keep your eye on the person. Keep your eye on what they're saying, what's coming out of their mouths, what they're picturing in their minds. Another one is listening for things when people share instead of merely listening to them. And so you want to show them that you value them, their feelings, their needs, their strengths, and their weaknesses. And so that's also very important. If you have a boss, for instance, who does that and really values what you're saying and takes into consideration what is happening at home as well as at work, wow, you want to do more for that person. You want to be there, loyal, faithful, because you know that they care about all of these other things. You know, everybody says, oh, you need to leave your feelings from home when you get to the door of your workplace and vice versa. And that's very hard to do because we're human beings. We work, hopefully, and we also have a family. And so you want to take those into consideration. We can't just cut them off, but of course we don't want to bring all our dirty laundry to work either. But always listen for those values, those feelings and their needs. Another one is responding to others by repeating the metaphors that they use. Oh my gosh, my birthday. Now I'm really an old lady. Well, no, I mean, you could maybe laugh with them if they have a sense of humor and say, hey, now you get to use your senior citizen discounts or something like that. But be sensitive to the fact that this may be bothering them. Because a lot of times as people get older, they feel like, well, I failed, I haven't really accomplished what I want. So you want to build them up at that time. Then also listen twice as much as you speak. You know, a lot of times in communication classes that say, listen 60% of the time and speak 40% of the time. That's a pretty good rule. Again, it's because people will love the fact that you care and that you're listening to them. And so, you know, they're saying that we have two ears and one mouth kind of fits in with that. To always be a good listener, not just what they say, but what's behind what they're saying. Okay? And like I've talked about before, also watch their body language, because somebody could be saying, oh yeah, everything's fine, and they're looking angry or they're looking very sad or something like that. So never forget, when you're listening, part of listening skills is, what are their eyes saying? What's their body saying? Because that's so important. Like my granddaughter was saying on some social media about she's always smiling at people even though she's wearing a mask because she lives in Texas. And I said, yes, but you smile with your eyes. And so even right now when we have to do the mask thing so much of the time, always smile with your eyes. People still see that and they know you're smiling at them regardless of the fact they can't see 2/3 of your face. So that is important. Remember that attitude of your heart as a good listener. And one of the things that I always say is, God, help me to see that person through your eyes, or help that person to see me through your eyes, or help me to see myself through your eyes. Because when you do that, you can get a different perspective about what's going on in someone's life and why they need to vent, why they're sad, why they're angry, etc. And so always remember that the attitude of the heart is very important. Another thing for some successful communication skills that I think are also important in our daily lives, at work or at home or socially, is choosing the right environment. Now, I've seen before, and actually had it done years ago, where a boss, a manager would chastise someone right in front of everyone else instead of taking them aside. And that's, I guess, to more embarrass the person, to really make a point. And I remember one boss that I had, she did that with me, but she did that with everybody. She kind of picked out one person a week to pick on. So always make sure that if this is something important, that you want to pull this person away where it's quiet so you can engage in the conversation back and forth. I was at a party last night for a girl's birthday, and it was so noisy in there. Everybody was like talking over the other persons. But then a friend of mine pulled another friend and I into another room because she'd had a crisis in her personal life. And I thought, good, that's exactly what should have been done. We pulled away, we got quiet, and we listened to her so we could be a comfort to her. And so always think about that, whether it's at work or socially. Pick your battles. You know, there are so many times when we don't have to battle something. We really don't. It's like, okay, I'm going to let that one go. It's not worth fighting over. So when people say, pick your battles, we don't want to snipe over every little thing that happens. But pick your battles. A lot of things can just be let go, and it wouldn't matter to anybody at all. And so, you know, just think, the first time a person is criticized, their interest goes down and their defensiveness goes up. So even if you have to deal with an issue that does need work on it, you try to open it up with a comment first that's positive. Thank them for something, tell them they did a great job on something, but start the conversation out as much as you can, if possible, in a positive mode. So the person will straighten up and they'll listen and they'll want to know what you're saying. That way they know you're not just going to go in there for the attack and attack them. So try to do that if possible. With each successive criticism, the defensiveness of the listener goes up and the receptiveness of them to receive what you're saying goes down. And so always think about that. You don't want to just wander around and be saying all kinds of things. If there's two separate issues, you may want to deal with the one now and then come back later and deal with the other one later instead of piling a lot on in the conversation. But always remember, there's defensiveness there the more we're criticized. And one of the things I learned a long time ago was there's constructive criticism and destructive criticism. So we want to critique people to help them learn and to do better, but critiquing is positive. You know, you see that on America's Got Talent. Now they're not criticizing so much as some of them used to, but critiquing a lot to help the person. And that's what we want to do as much as possible, is actually critique versus a lot of destructive criticism that just causes more battles and bigger fires. And so think about that when you're talking to people, constructive versus destructive. Another thing is be aware of undoing. Sometimes when people have a low self-image especially, they will kind of undo something. Maybe they're upset and they want to vent, and then they think, I don't want anybody to not like me. So a good example is you're talking with someone, and then you kind of sabotage yourself and say, you know, I think you're really mean and hurtful. And then turn around in the same breath and go, and I know, I probably bring that out of you. Okay, what did that do? Put the blame on yourself for someone else's poor treatment of you. So you don't want to do that either. Don't negate what you said if you need to share something with someone, how they hurt you or anything that they did that was way out of line, because there's a lot of that going on, especially right now. So don't apologize for your real feelings. Say it. Be kind, though, as much as you can, and then move on. Another one is making use of minimal encouragers to let conversation partners know that he or she is listening. And again, that could be simple as, right, I gotcha. Things that say, yes, I'm listening. Okay, you're not talking to the wall, you're not talking to the chair, something like that. I hear you, I understand. And, you know, interject that way. You know, one example that I saw that I really love is, so an employee is late for work, and the employee says, sorry, I'm late, I was leaving from home, and my dog ran out into the street and got hit by a car. And so the manager says, reflecting the content, which is objective, so your dog got hit by a car? And you say, yes, it did. And so the manager says, is he dead? And the employer said, yes, he is. And the manager goes, so what'd you do with the body? Okay, how would we feel with that? Really bad, you know, because the kids love this dog. And so that would be an objective way not to do something. So instead you'd want to say something like, reflecting the feelings. The person says, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I was leaving the home. My dog ran out in front of the car and got hit. And so the manager, expressing feelings, reflecting feelings, not the objectivity, says, oh my gosh, you must feel terrible. And the person says, yes, my children love the dog, and the dog passed away. And so the manager says, I'm sure you must be very upset. I'm so sorry you're going through this. And so that's the way we're a lot more successful in communicating when we reflect feelings into the situation at hand. So those are really important. And just I've got about 5 minutes. I'm going to wrap up a few things that I think are very important on leadership and communicating and really assessing how we're doing every week and how others are doing with us, how we're doing with them. And one of them is doing a little assessment, like every Friday, maybe at the end of the day, Friday at work or at home. And so every Friday, I would suggest at least for a month, take a test and write three things that you learned from other people that week. And they could be anything from issues with customers or clients, maybe a better way to handle a process than what you thought. Someone else had a better idea. And so you learned a way to maybe skip a step and go forward successfully without an extra step. Reasons why a project didn't work out right. Was it something maybe you did, somebody else did? Putting different teams together, what might it be? So think about that. Write 3 things every Friday that you learned because you were listening and working with other people. It's amazing how much you can learn, how much better the environment is, and know different ways to communicate with different people. Because we do need to communicate differently depending on if they're a very emotional person, if they're a very statistical person, etc. So think about that as well. And then try to build up from there. Another one is thinking for number 4. You know, jet fighters and flyers doing a 4-jet formation. And so, 4-jet formation this way. Then the leader sometimes, even when you're going to the airplane shows, but sometimes in battle can actually lead them into death if they're not careful what they're doing, because the other ones are going to follow the leader. And so especially if you're a leader in business or, even at home, you're a leader. And so always think about that. So the leaders adopt the number 4 mindset. So before making a move, whether it's a serious move at work, it's a serious decision like moving out of town or something like that at home, think for number 4. How does this affect everybody around you? Is this going to be a good move? Is it going to be something that will end up being chaotic or something like that? So always think for number 4, because there are other people almost always involved in anything that you do. And so think for number 4 and adopt a wise mindset. Another one would be just to write a news story about yourself every week. And think of all the things that you did, the things that you said, the experiences, and then say, hey, would I want this in social media? Would this be something that I would want other people to see and to know? Or would they think I was a grouch? Would they think I was angry all the time? Would they think I was a fighter? Would they think I was a lover? Would they think I was somebody who really cared? So what you did, what you thought, and then how did people respond? Would it be something you would like everybody to know? Okay, because that a lot of times can affect us too and go, nope, I better straighten that one out. I better do something differently there. So because I have a friend who keeps doing things like that, and she's losing friends because of being negative and critical a lot. So think, I better maybe turn that around a little bit. And just one last one quickly is the instant turnaround, and this was with the Detroit Tigers, and I love this story. You think about sometimes when a department fails or things fail in a company or there's a lot of problems there, why? What happened or what didn't happen that should have happened? Well, several years ago, a guy named Jim Leyland was the manager of the Detroit Tigers. He took them on when they had 12 in a row losing seasons. Wow. The next year, they won the World Series. Now, how in the heck did that happen after 12 years? Well, what had happened was he did an instant turnaround of unbelievable magnitude, and these were the same players that had the 12 losing years. What did he do? He went against the grain of conventional wisdom, and he caused the players to trust him. Because when we trust people, we want to go with them. We want to go along with them. We want to be part of the team. And so when they learned to trust him, what they did was they became more confident. So to them, instead of avoiding work, avoiding the tryouts, or all the things that they had to do, they went to work every day looking to it as fun because it was a challenge, and it had become enjoyable instead of a daily grind. And so because of that, he turned them into motivated, excited players. And that's what we need to do at home. That's what we need to do at work, is really get them motivated, excited, because they know that they can trust us, that we listen to them, we care about them, and then they want to join the team. So always think about that. What can you do to change batteries, to actually motivate people, to be excited, to be with you, to be a partner with you, to be part of the team. And so just like Jim Leyland did that, from losers to the series winners, we can do the same things in every part of our life. So just God bless you. I want to encourage you to go forward, think of auto-suggestion, and be a partner with those that you're around in the positive way. God bless you. See you next week.